All right, let's go ahead and get started today. This is our monthly sort of introduction to Nebula. So this is something we put together for those of you that are new to Zyxel and want to learn a little bit more about our cloud management platform, Nebula. And for those of you that are maybe older partners um, that are just looking to maybe just now make the jump over to Nebula and find out a little bit more about it. As we go through today, feel free to send in questions using Q&A or chat, either one, and I'll do my best to answer those for you. So, since there are probably a lot of new partners in here, I do like to start this with a couple of slides about Zyxel's background. So, here at Zyxel, we've been doing networking equipment for over 35 years now. We're coming up really close on our 40th anniversary. We are based out of Taiwan. We're a Taiwanese company and always have been a Taiwanese company. Our U.S. offices are based out of Anaheim, California, and we've been here in Anaheim for over 35 years as well. So we are not new to networking and we are not new to the United States. However, historically, we have primarily focused on the ISP side of things, selling things to ISPs rather than end users, particularly in North America. So we don't have perhaps the name recognition you would expect from a company that's been doing this for so long. Which brings me here to the Zyxel Group. That is our parent company. I am with what's called Zyxel Networks. So Zyxel Networks is the arm of the company that is focused on what we call the channel. So we produce things like switches, security gateways, access points, things like that. We do have a sister company that also operates here in North America known as Zyxel Communications. So they are primarily focused on ISPs, and in the US, historically, that's where most of our focus has been. In Europe, not so much. In Europe, it's a much more even split between Zyxel Networks and Zyxel Communications historically. So if you've gone to a ISP focused show, you may have ran into some Zyxel employees who didn't know anything about our switches or our access points, and that's why they're focused on ISP products. So MSANs, and primarily these days, the big focus is on Plume and TR069 managed um, routers for ISPs. And then the other name on here is MitraStar. MitraStar is our manufacturing arm. So we have factories in Taiwan, in China, and in Thailand now, where we manufacture products. And depending on what the product is, we may also use contract manufacturers for some of those as well. But we do have our own manufacturing infrastructure we've had quite a bit of time now. And we've got some other sister companies that I won't go into here that aren't even on these slides. Those are the main ones that you need to know. Now, one question we often get is if you're buying from Zyxel Networks, can you get Zyxel Communications products? And the answer is you can. If you're normally a Zyxel Communications customer and you want some Zyxel Networks products, can you get those? You can. There may be a few extra steps though, as we figure out the best way to do that, because there's completely different distribution networks set up for each of these different channels, because there are different type of customer who buys from different places. But we can do it. Just it may take us a little bit of work to get it going for you, but we absolutely can. So now on to Nebula, the reason you are here today. So what is Nebula? Nebula was the first full stack cloud management platform for SMBs. So what does that mean? By full stack, we mean it can manage the full network stack. So switches, access points, your gateway. And we've been doing this since 2016. We launched the product, it was either October or November 2016. So we beat out Ubiquiti, we beat out TP-Link, we beat out Netgear, we beat out all the other guys that are aimed primarily at this SMB space. Basically, we saw what Meraki had been doing. They had recently been purchased by Cisco. We liked what they were doing, but it was expensive. But we said, this is something that SMBs, MSPs, these guys could use this. It'd be great for them, but without that Cisco or Meraki price tag. So that's exactly what we did. So again, we launched this in 2016. We've been improving it ever since. We just launched one of our biggest upgrades in a while, just in this last week. We periodically do quarterly updates for new features into Nebula. And we support over 150 of our products. So basically what Nebula is doing is giving you a single pane of glass where you can manage all of your Nebula devices and all of your customers, making it easy for you. And we'll go through this here in a little bit more detail. But the general idea behind Nebula is to take all of the stuff that you have to do when you are setting up a new customer's network, eliminate what we can from that workflow, and when we can't eliminate things, let's optimize them so it takes less time. And at the end of the day, the idea is to have you spending less money to set up a customer's network and you spending less time having to set it up and manage it, which also then therefore saves you some money. So let's start talking about Nebula itself. So to manage your devices in Nebula, it's really easy. You go to nebula.zyxel.com and log in with your Zyxel account. And from that point forward, all of your devices, all of your customers are right there for you. So some of the cool things we can do in Nebula. One of the best ones here is you can fully configure and set up your product without ever having to take it out of the box. So all of our products have a QR code on the belly of the product, and most of our products also have a QR code on the outside of the box. All you need to do is scan the QR codes of your Zyxel equipment, assign them to one of your customers, and assign them to one of that customer's sites. And once you have done that, you have full configuration ability of that product through Nebula. So that way you can get everything configured just the way you want it. And then when your field tech goes on site to do the installation, all he has to do is plug it in so it has power and an internet connection. And at that point forward, the device will say that it wants to be that you want to manage it in Nebula. It will put itself into Nebula mode and download that configuration you have set for it. So a great time saver, gives you a lot of flexibility in configuring things. So we have a number of different tools, wizards, and things like that in Nebula that are designed to help speed things up for you, to get your network up and running in just a few minutes. So to use Nebula, what you need is Nebula compatible hardware, and that is it. There's no other devices, there's no other software, there's no other licenses that you're required to buy to use Nebula. So no virtual machines, nothing that needs to be loaded on a server somewhere, nothing like that. The agent is built into the devices themselves. You don't have to log into the device and put it in cloud mode. It will do that automatically for you. And then we run the Nebula Cloud itself. So nothing you need to do other than buy the hardware and install it. And so that way, once you've installed your Nebula equipment, anywhere you have access to a web browser and an internet connection, you have access to all of your customers and all of their networks. So Nebula has built-in user management. We do support industry standard radius authentication. But if you don't want to set up your own radius server, we do have a cloud-hosted user database that you can use for user authentication, monitoring, etc. And we make it really easy to do guest access. So if you're trying to deploy a Wi-Fi network for guests to access, whether we're talking about something that that is like a public hotspot, a hotel Wi-Fi, or if you're just trying to provide internet connectivity for visiting salespeople, customers, reps, things like that, we've got you covered here. The captive portal functionality is built into our access points themselves. So even if you're not using a Zyxel gateway at the customer premise, you can still do captive portal using what's built into the access points themselves. And we have a lot of flexibility with how they log in. You can have them agree to a terms of service page. You can have them register for an account. You can generate accounts for them. You can have them log in with Facebook. Lots of flexibility with how this is done. So all configuration changes, all firmware updates are done through the cloud. At no point with Nebula do you need to go into and physically access the hardware or directly SSH or access a built-in web GUI in the device itself. Everything is done through the cloud and pushed out from there. On the AP side of things, we have our smart mesh technology. So you can use this to create mesh networks that expand out your network without needing to run Ethernet to each AP. It can also be used as an emergency failover where if something happens and the Ethernet connection is lost, the device can automatically put itself into mesh mode. And this is also the technology we would use to create a point or a point to multi-point bridge, bridging, like, say, different buildings together. And of course, we support all of the industry standards when it comes to security, WPA3 Enterprise, as well as PSK. If you're using Wi-Fi 6 or earlier, you can use DPPSK for doing things. And we support all the roaming and quick handoff standards like 802.11r, K, and V. On the switch side of things, we give you a great interface here. You can quickly and easily see what's going on your switch. You can see which ports have something plugged into them, what speed those connections are, whether or not PoE power is being provided on those ports. And we give you the ability to select ports from multiple switches and configure them simultaneously, essentially virtually stacking those switches for a configuration perspective. We give you a number of different troubleshooting tools that you can use to help troubleshoot users' problems, and we help visualize network traffic on those switches for you. And of course, we include all the standard sort of Ethernet security you would expect, the ability to do 802.1x authentication, loop guard, the ability to prevent somebody from plugging in their own DHCP server on the network. So just about everything talked about up to this point is free. So Nebula is a free platform. This is something that also separates us from most of our competition. Most of the solutions out there these days are something you must pay to use, or if they have a free version, it is extremely limited to one or two sites or just a couple of devices. With Nebula, the free version of Nebula, you can manage an unlimited number of customers, an unlimited number of sites, and an unlimited number of devices for free. Now, I don't know what just happened there, but there we go. Um, but we do have some licenses, and we will talk about those that unlock some additional features. But before I get to the licenses, I want to talk about what's called Nebula Flex. So basically, with Nebula products, or when you purchase Nebula compatible products, they are in your traditional management mode, the traditional standalone management, right? Where you go into them with SSH or through your web browser, type in their IP address, log in, and configure. All of the Nebula devices are in standalone mode by default. To put them in cloud mode, as I mentioned earlier, really simple. You scan that QR code, assign the device to a customer and a site, and the hardware will detect that you want to do that, or that you have done that, and it will automatically reboot itself into cloud mode and download the configuration that you've set for it in the cloud. So nothing you have to do on the hardware to put it in cloud mode, it will do it automatically. And it's just as easy to take it out of cloud mode and put it back into standalone mode. Just log into Nebula, remove the device from your inventory, and it will detect that, and your device will automatically reboot itself into standalone mode. Now, one key thing here for you, configurations are not shared between cloud mode and standalone mode for security reasons. So just be aware that when it goes into standalone mode, it basically starts over with a blank configuration. When you put it into cloud mode, it overwrites what's ever on the device with whatever configuration is in the cloud in a continuous pair. So if you then take it back out of the cloud, it will factory reset itself with a blank config. So we do offer some licenses, so let's talk about those a little bit. So to begin with here, the free version of Nebula is called Base Pack, and again, that is free. We have Plus Pack, which is one step up that you can purchase. We don't sell a lot of these, so I'm going to spend a lot of time today talking about it. Pro Pack, if people are going to buy a license, Pro Pack is what most people end up buying. Retail price on this is about $30 per device per year. So very affordable compared to something like Cisco's Meraki. And you do get a free 30-day trial of that if you want to test it out. So these are organization-based licenses. So let me explain a little bit about how this works. In Nebula, there is an account owner. So that's going to be the owner of your business. That's going to be your head technician, whatever you want to use to do that. And then under that ownership account, you have different organizations. So organizations are how you're going to configure your customers. So each one of your customers is going to be their own organization, and then you can set up multiple sites in that organization for them. So if you've got a small customer, they have one org and one site. If you have a big customer, you'd have one org and multiple sites. To upgrade it to, say, ProPack, you aren't doing it on a device basis, you're doing it on an organization basis. So the organizations by default are in base pack, the free version of Nebula. And then if you want to give them the pro features, buy the licenses to convert that organization into ProPack. So the way that works is you can have some of your customers using the free version of Nebula. You can have some of your customers using ProPack. Now, to convert a device to, or to convert an organization to ProPack, you must buy a license for each device in that org. So if there's 5 devices in the org across all of the sites, you would buy 5 of those ProPack licenses. If there's 150 devices across a number of different sites in that organization, you would buy 150 licenses. So once you have enough licenses, then you can convert the org base pack to ProPack. Now you may have noticed there was another license on the previous slide. That was our MSP license. The MSP license is a different type of license. So Plus and ProPack are organization-based licenses. The MSP pack license, as the name may imply, is a license that unlocks some additional MSP-friendly features, and it is done on a user basis. So you buy the license, the MSP license, for each user you want to give access to these extra features. So it may be you only give that to one account. It may be you give it to all of your admin accounts. It just depends on you and how you've got your responsibilities divvied up and what features different people need. The MSP license is I think street price on that's about $100 per user per year. And again, you don't, unlike the Pro and Plus Pack licenses where every device in the org needs a license, the MSP license is done on a per user basis, so you can give it to as many or as few of your users as you want. Another question we get a lot is, well, what happens if I decide not to renew my licenses? And it's really simple. You just fall back to the free version when your licenses expire. You're never locked out. You never lose access to your devices. You never lose the ability to manage them in Nebula. You never lose the ability to take them out of Nebula and make them standalone. So you can always drop out and go back to the free version, no problems. So the next slide here, this is showing you the differences between Nebula Flex and Nebula Flex Pro. So this might be a little confusing. Nebula Flex Pro isn't directly having anything really to do with Nebula ProPack. This is just distinguishing 2 types of devices that we have out there that are Nebula Flex. So again, Nebula Flex just means you can use the device as standalone, or you can use the device in the cloud. Nebula Flex Pro just means that that device comes bundled with a 1-year ProPack license, whether you want to use it or not. So when it comes to our access points, the NWA series, those are Nebula Flex. The W series, so all the access points that start with the letter W, those are Nebula Flex Pro, so you've got the 1-year license bundled with them. Switches. Basically, everything that's 1915 and higher is part of the 1900 series is Nebula Flex. And then the 2000, 3000, 4000 series, and also the 1350 series, those are Nebula Flex Pro, so you get that 1-year ProPack license. On our security devices, it's pretty simple. If you're buying a standalone box, it's Nebula Flex. If you're buying a security appliance that comes bundled with UTM licenses out of the box, it will also include a 1-year Nebula ProPack. So let's talk about some of the differences. What are the differences between the free version of Nebula and ProPack? All versions give you the ability to manage an unlimited number of devices, customers, and sites. All of them have that zero-touch auto provisioning. All of them give you access to configure all of the core functionality of the device. All of them give you access to our mobile app. All of them give you the ability to do firmware scheduling. All of them let you use a cloud authentication server or use Radius for authentication. All of them have captive portal built in. So let's talk about what's different. The first one has to do with logs. So the free version of Nebula, we just keep 24 hours worth of logs in the cloud, where ProPack, we keep a year's worth of logs in the cloud. Now, if you are using the free version of Nebula and you need more than 24 hours worth of logs, you can always set up a syslog server to export the logs to. Admin accounts. Free version of Nebula gives you 5 admin accounts for each customer you're managing. So each customer has an independent 5 admin accounts they can have. Pack gives you an unlimited number of admin accounts per customer or organization. That cloud user database that we have, so if you don't want to set up your own Radius server, the free version of Nebula only includes 50 entries in that database, where the Pro Pack gives you an unlimited number of entries in that database. So some other features here that are exclusive to Pro Pack, and in some cases Plus Pack, advanced firmware scheduling. So free version gives you firmware scheduling. Pro Pack gives you advanced firmware scheduling, letting you set up schedules for individual devices, for different classes of devices, a lot of different functionality there for how you set it up. Automatic reporting features, the ability to generate visual graphs and summaries and have those automatically generated and emailed either to yourself or your customers. That's a Pro Pack feature. Automatic topology view, it's a Pro Pack feature. Push notifications when devices go offline, Pro Pack feature. Audit logs, where we check the user who made the configuration changes, Pro Pack feature. The ability to back up and have multiple different configurations saved in the cloud, Pro Pack feature. Our AI technologies for things like troubleshooting and automatically configuring your wireless network, monitoring IPTV streams for problems, things like that, Pro Pack feature. So one of the Pro Pack features I mentioned was the automatic topology view. I've got that up on the screen here. And basically, we're able to automatically generate out a network map showing you which users are connected to which access points, and then which switches are upstream of that, helping you, just providing a nice troubleshooting tool for understanding, which switch ports you need to be looking at. You can also click on the devices on this and have some additional status and configuration options available to you. I'm going to skip that. As I mentioned, also, we do have artificial intelligence built in. Can help automatically alert you to problems, or in the case of wireless, can automatically make some configuration changes for you based on guest activity for you. And on the switch side of things, one of the cooler features that I believe is a Pro Pack feature is the ability to automatically assign devices to two VLANs based on the first 6 digits of their MAC address. So essentially allowing you to say, hey, this brand of IP phone, I want to put on this VLAN. This brand of device is a laptop, I want to put it on this VLAN, etc. On the security side of things, we make it really easy for you to set up and configure site VPNs. You just go in, choose your sites, choose the topology you want to use, and we handle everything else for the configuration. For remote users, we've got a lot of cool tools there that you can use, such as the ability to have a script that automatically configures Windows, iOS, and Mac OS devices to use their built-in client. We have our own client you can use for SSL VPN. We even have the ability with an additional license to convert an access point into a cloud-managed VPN appliance to make it even simpler to set up your remote users or your remote workers to be able to get back to the corporate network. And then Nebula itself meshes with our SecuReporter cloud tool. So SecuReporter is a cloud tool that does some really in-depth analysis of what's going on in that security gateway. So it's really easy to get to there from Nebula, back to Nebula when you're done there. So that's pretty much today's presentation. So if you have some questions, go ahead and send them. I've got a slide up here which answers some of the most common questions we get. So again, our cloud is hosted by Amazon AWS. So it's got really good uptime as far as the cloud goes, but obviously people say, what happens when Amazon have one of their outages? What happens if somebody cuts the fiber to my customer's premise? And the answer is your hardware continues to work just as it was. We obviously can't collect logs through the cloud and we can't make configuration changes, but everything is going to continue to function using the existing configuration. So you don't need to worry about that. Hold on just a second. Okay. So it's a 4.9 time SLA. So another common question we get is, can we use Nebula because my customers needs PCI compliance, they need HIPAA compliance? So the answer is yes. You absolutely can use Nebula with those services. Nebula does not break or do something that you can't use for those. And part of that is because nothing is going to our cloud except for management information, logs from the devices, and then configuration changes being pushed down to the devices. So your customer's network that's designed to stay on the local network stays on the local network. Your customer's data that's supposed to go out to the internet goes directly out to the internet. It does not touch our servers. Another common question we get is, well, what about network security and encryption? Do we have to trust you that you've done a good job foolproofing whatever protocols you use? And the answer to that is no. We use an industry standard out there called netconf. So netconf encrypts and handles the authentication between our devices and the cloud. So it's an industry standard that's out there. I believe it's open sourced. So you can look into that. But that is what we use. It's not something in-house that you just trust us bro on. It is a legitimate protocol that we use. It's the same protocol we use for our back in the days of local controllers. And so Nebula gives you unlimited scalability, so you can continue to add as many devices as you want. There's no upgrades that you need to do. You know, the Amazon cloud's going to automatically scale for us. So just to try to summarize things here, simplicity, it's very easy to use. It's very easy to set up. And if you like it, it's very easy to get back out of it. It makes configuration simpler than standalone mode, makes remote management easier. And again, it's free for you. So if you haven't played with Nebula and you'd like to, there is a live demo on our website you can go to. It's nebula.zyxel.com. Just log in there, and at the bottom, instead of logging in with your own account, there is a button that says, I think, see demo or live demo. Click on that, and we've got a number of different live locations that you can go to and poke around and see how things are going. If you are part of our partner program as a reseller, we are still offering 60-day demo kits. So reach out to your salesperson, Andy, David, or Jacob, and they can get you hooked up with a 60-day demo kit for you to play around with no obligation. And just lastly here, our webinars are recorded and put up on YouTube. So if you've missed something today or you've missed one of our other webinars or you'd like to share with somebody, just go to Zyxel America channel on YouTube and you can find them all there. So we do have a couple questions that have come in. Let's see here. Looks like both are from Robert. So the first question is, are standalone configuration Nebula management configurations equal? So I get what you're asking for there. For the most part, on most devices, yes, although things are sometimes done a little bit differently. For instance, if you're using a local controller, historically, it's been a slightly different mesh implementation on our access points than what we use in Nebula. And there's some other tools like load balancing, roaming, things like that, which have to be implemented differently when you're using the cloud versus using a local controller. So there are some differences, but in general, for most stuff, everything is basically the same between the two. Again, configuration may be different. There's also been a lot more focus on the Nebula side of things to streamline things and make them simpler and easier to use versus how it would be done in standalone mode. Now, the one exception to that is going to be some of our security products, the UG Flex H series. So on the H series, on the security appliances, there's so much stuff going on. So Nebula gives you the streamlined, easy to use version of configuring that. But we still give you the ability to SSH into the device or to access the local configuration through Nebula. So you can actually go from Nebula into the local configuration to make changes that aren't available through Nebula. And I believe we've just also added that functionality on some of our higher end like L3 switches. So in general, feature should be pretty much equivalent between the two, although implementations may be a little bit different. And then on the security side of things, you basically get both. A question here from Robert was about backups. Um, so the cloud configuration is just stored in the cloud. With ProPack on the switches, on at least some of the switches, we have the ability to basically make backups of the existing configuration and store multiple configs. So that way, for troubleshooting purposes or something like that, you can configure it a couple different ways and then quickly be able to jump between configurations. That is not something that's doable in the free version. That does require a Pro Pack to do that. And that is it for questions. I'll stick around for just a minute in case it's got some more. One of you other guys have some questions. Chat or Q&A, either way to send them in. Also, my email's up here on screen, johnr@zyxel.com. So feel free to email me. Although generally your best route of getting questions answered is to reach out to your salesperson, Andy, David, or Jacob. They can forward it to the appropriate product manager or to our sales engineer, depending on what the question is and who's going to have the most likelihood of knowing how it works. Brent, question here asking if this can be used on the Zcom products. So in this case, the EX5512. And the answer is at this point in time, this is entirely for Zyxel Networks products. Zyxel Communications products are different. So Zyxel Networks is again our switches, our access points, and our security gateways. Zcom is focused on the TR069 managed routers, cable or not cable modems, DSL modems, things like that. So no, those are different technology. I'll just touch on that a little bit. So those are primarily managed using what's called TR069. There's also TR181, TRA369. I think we support all of those. Just TR069 for shorthand. That's an industry standard that's been around forever where you provide your own ACS and it handles provisioning and things like that. We also, on certain products over there at Zcom, support Plume, which is a third party. I'll call it an ACS. It's not. It's its own special thing, which gives you a cloud management platform that you can use. It's operated by OpenSync, so third party. Um, so those are the two main ones. There is something else that I know they are launching or soft launching or something like that, and I forget what they're calling it. It's the same name as a Zcom product, but there is another management platform that they are starting to launch over there. That's another option for us. So those are the three main things. We have been looking at a Nebula managed router, just a very basic Wi-Fi router for Nebula. As it exists right now, we have a USG Lite 60AX, which is a lower end security gateway. I want to say street price is 200 or a little under 200, and it's got Wi-Fi and everything built in. So we do have some people using Nebula to manage those in MDU scenarios. I don't think we have anyone using it as an ISP, but we have some people using it for MDU CPE. So it's missing some of the telco type features you would expect on an ACS, but for some users, it's good enough. We've also been looking at adding some even cheaper, very basic routers. However, the FCC rules have sort of that came out of nowhere, what, a month ago, a month and a half ago, kind of have put that on hold at least for the moment. Basically, the FCC came out and said they're banning all foreign-made consumer routers designed for self-install. However, that's what they've publicly said. That's what's on the FCC website. However, the guidance they've given the FCC certification labs is different than that. It has basically put a stop to any type of new router and any type of new access point, at least for the time being. So we're still waiting for the FCC to fully publish and flesh out what is and is not going to be able to get FCC certified going forward. So that plan for a Nebula managed, cheap, inexpensive consumer type router is on hold until that gets solved. And no other questions came in on my long rambling answer there, so I'm going to assume there are no more. Again, if you do have some, you can email me or reach out to your salesperson. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope to see you at one of our future webinars. Thank you.